1 in 3 ads that are placed come from WPP. That drives me to want to have the most diverse, inclusive work environments, because those are the people who are creating the ads that help us not only think about how we feel about ourselves or the environment, but how my kids are feeling about themselves.
Hello and welcome to The New Rules of Work, a podcast from the Muse where we explore the changing landscape of work and the dynamics between employers and talent. Today, I'm really excited to be speaking with Jacqui Canney, who is the Global Chief People Officer at WPP, one of the biggest agency companies in the world. Whether or not you're familiar with WPP, it is the parent company of many long-established agencies, including Ogilvy and Y&R, who've partnered with major brands like PepsiCo, KFC, and even the US Navy, and they've produced some of the best-known advertising and branding campaigns in recent years. Jacqui has a fascinating career path, and so I'm really excited to dig in with her today. Prior to joining WPP, she was the Chief People Officer at Walmart, which employs well over 2 million people, and she previously spent 25 years at Accenture, the global professional services company, where she supported the rapid growth of the business from 21,000 people to more than 300,000, a 15x employee headcount increase. Jacqui, you have a really interesting challenge in your new role at WPP, and I'm so excited to dig into it with you. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I think we're going to have a lot of fun. So right now, as we're recording, you're about 4 months into your new role as WPP's Global Chief People Officer, and everyone, regardless of where they are in their career, can relate to starting a new role. So I wonder, just to kind of ground us to start, if you could share, how did you approach your first few months in the role, and are there tips or advice you might give to other people who are starting a new role soon?
Sure. Thank you for the question, and again, having us here today. I am 4 months in, and it's been an amazing 4 months. I've had an opportunity to spend time in particular with our business and our people, and I get a lot of energy out of that and have learned quite a bit already. In my first month, we had a board meeting, we had our shareholder meeting, we had some really big events that allowed me to get a top line view of what's happening in the company from their seats. And then I've had the opportunity to meet with industry experts. So spending time with people who can give me their point of view on the agency world, on advertising and media, the future of where that's headed, and also get a particular point on what they think of WPP. So spending time outside the company, inside the company, learning about our work. And lastly, I'd say spending time with some of our biggest clients. So understanding what challenges they're facing, understanding how WPP can help them, and certainly how we can grow together.
Yeah, it's a great mix of both learning from the inside and going outside to get some of that firsthand perspective. So before WPP, I mentioned in the intro, you were the Chief People Officer at Walmart, and you told me a story when we were getting set up here that I would just love to ask you to repeat for everyone, because it was such a great example of how sometimes in leadership roles you have to make decisions that don't always seem obvious at the time, and sometimes, just sticking to them can yield really incredible long-term results.
Sure. When I started at Walmart, our share price was in the high 70s, for context. And I had met with Doug McMillon and his leadership team to talk about what their ambition was for people. And when you speak to them, even today, you understand that it is a people-led transformation for Walmart. And that is what drew me to the company to want to be a part of it. One of the things that happened soon into my time, it was about 2 months, we had our annual investor meeting where we go and we talk to the investors about what the strategy of the company is. The CFO presents the financial outlook, and our leaders talk about what their business plans are. So it's a really important day. And when we went to that meeting, we talked about the $2.7 billion investment that the company had agreed was an important part of the strategy. So that was in our people, specifically around training, education, and wages. And what happened was our share price went into the 50s that day.
Wow. So you all announced this massive investment in training, education, and wages for Walmart employees, and the street responded by cutting the share price,
yes,
by lowering the price of the stock. That's incredible.
Yes. So as a leadership team, we all thought, well, we didn't see that necessarily as the outcome of that announcement, but it certainly is something as a leadership team we took responsibility for and knew that that meant we had nowhere to go but forward, and it was not to go backward and let that event, I'll say, impact our decision making, our strategy, and how we wanted to continue our transformation with people. And we put our heads down, we worked together. It was a very galvanizing moment as a company for e-commerce, for stores. We all knew there was one share price that we were working to increase, but we wanted to do that with our values and our heart and have it done with our people. So we continue to invest not just in the original $2.7 billion, we continue to invest in further training, education, and wages. We continue to invest in technology to empower our people, particularly in the front line, to be able to serve customers better. And as I reflect, the share price today, we just looked at it before we got on, is at 119. So I think it's a really good lesson that a leadership team sticking together, sticking to your strategy, knowing what's right to do will yield results. It's just maybe not going to be in 48 hours.
Yeah, and I've seen that myself where, it can be hard to stick to what you believe is right for your company and your people when there might be external incentives otherwise. But I think that's a really neat story and definitely something that's, not what most people want to jump into in month 2 of a new job, but also what an incredible experience that I'm sure bonded the team and the people together.
Yes, for sure.
So then switching gears, I thought it was interesting when I was reading WPP's announcement about your appointment. Your CEO, Mark Reed, had mentioned that one of your core responsibilities would be building a new culture that, quote, empowers people to do their best work. What does this type of culture look like to you, and how might it differ from cultures at other companies or previous places where you've worked?
WPP, if you Google the history of the company, was built to put together a number of different agencies that would serve their clients and their customers. Mark Reed, as the new CEO, as you mentioned, he's been CEO about a year now, saw the opportunity of a more integrated approach to the company, not having so many silos within it. And some would say even built to compete with itself. So some of the brands that you mentioned could have in the past shown up at a client together competing for work. And now Mark and the leadership team believe that it's not about the competing for work, it's about bringing the best of one WPP to our clients. And having a one people strategy to integrate the company is what Mark has asked me to help him lead. And that starts with the culture. So we know we have this vision that he set apart. We have a strategy that we just took our top 250 people through. But what it means from a people strategy is that you need to have your ambition, which is around having an open, opportunistic place where people can do their most extraordinary work for clients. As a people lead, how we bring that to life is through our processes and policies and making sure that that isn't just words on a page. So our strategy is built on how we're modernizing the function, keeping it iPhone easy to work in the company. You should be able to have your address updated as well as what my great capabilities are, what my potential is, and have that match up to this amazing client work that we have because we have so many great clients. And then we need to have an ambition to be an employer of choice. There's a lot of choices now for people about where they want to go work. This is an industry that's under great transformation. I would like us to be the destination for our people to work at this creative and transformation company. And then our people need to have the conditions to thrive. They need to know that their potential can be met, that the learning and development opportunities are great, that they have exposure to leaders that they can learn from while inside the company, and then having opportunities to either rise up because they want to be promoted or just move laterally because they enjoy the work that they're doing and they want to just get more exposure.
So I think next one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is embracing change. Mm-hmm. So you've talked a lot about the importance of embracing change. Your career absolutely demonstrates that quality and that willingness. For people who are listening who may have change in their future, what does embracing change mean to you, and how do you encourage your teams to embrace change?
I find change an adrenaline positive, so I need to start with
too.
That, right? So there's the optimist, but it's knowing not everybody feels that way. And sometimes change can be scary to people and they don't want to see through it, not because they don't want to get there. I think it's hard to sometimes feel the energy from it. It can be a detractor. So I absolutely seek out people who feel the energy from it because I think it's it's a good part of having on the team. But I think for those who struggle with change, you have to give them what's not changing to be able to be comfortable and anchoring to something, whether it's the culture, the values, things like that are bedrocks inside an organization. And then showing the way through that, but not wavering off the bedrock. You need to have a foundation that you can stand on and feel good, concrete, because you're going to get pushed, a little bit on it every now and then. And I think that's important. For my team, I feel like right now they're the bedrock for me. I have my team, I have my family. That means a lot to me too, because you need to have the outside world that you can stand on to keep you strong. But the team we have, Mark's team that he's built, are absolutely providing that right now. One of the things I've learned along the way, though, is you have to be your authentic self through this time of change. And we're talking a little bit about what it was like to join a company like Walmart. And in my first 6 months there, it's a really big responsibility. It's got, as I said, so many employees. I had a great team, the leadership team. We had the stock, price. So there were definitely moments where I was feeling the pressure to have this much responsibility and maybe not be myself. So I had to be reminded, this is the bedrock to stand on. We had a great founder who, created the values. We had this great CEO who knew which way he wanted to go. And I had a great team that wanted to go and execute the strategy. It just is a difficult time when you have that many eyeballs on you from around the world, around the company, outside the company.
When you're stepping up and taking on a big job, it comes with that exposure. But I love the idea of grounding yourself in what's not changing.
Yeah. The other thing I'd add as you're talking is around purpose. Having the culture tied to the purpose of why you're doing it helps you stay the course. I think one of the things, we do those personality tests. I'm sure you guys all do them here too, many. Right? That one of the things I measure high on is altruism, just as a part of my personality. Mm-hmm. So I am very driven by what the purpose of a company is. And Walmart, with its save money so people can live better, was a very real to my core of why I really wanted to deliver on the work. At WPP, it might surprise you, but 1 in 3 ads that are placed come from WPP.
Wow.
So you imagine the impressions that we create for people all over the world and how much responsibility there is for that too. And that drives me to want to have the most diverse, inclusive work environments, because those are the people who are creating the ads that help us not only think about how we feel about ourselves or the environment, but how my kids are feeling about themselves. And
you can't be what you can't see. And advertising is what a lot of us see a lot of the time.
Yes, so it's another great reason to be connected to WPP.
So I think I've got one more question for you before we wrap. So Jacqui, when you think about making WPP a destination for the absolute top talent across advertising and creative industries, what are some of the things that you're doing to attract and retain these folks? Because some of these things may be the same as attracting top talent anywhere, and others might be specific for advertising and creative, which are known for, for often being a particular type of talent.
So I would say we're looking at the pipeline in multiple levels. At its most junior, people coming out of universities or taking first jobs, WPP is a pretty amazing destination. You have the opportunity to impact, as I said, really big numbers of people with the work you do. But it's important that we're looking at where we're going to recruit the people that we need. So it's not always going to be the most traditional schools, which we do need people from where you might expect here in New York, some great universities here. But it's also looking into the pipeline in places where we might find the more diverse candidates that we'd like to have. Community colleges, even high school students, to get exposure to what this type of industry can do. Because I think people don't fully understand all the roles that we have. So it's trying to draw from a new place to get talent in to the company. And then it's thinking about mid-level career. How do we now be a more open WPP? Creating mobility for our people. So in the old way of doing WPP work, you might work in one brand and feel like you can't move to another brand. But you really do want to get exposure from perhaps a creative agency to the media buying or media creation. And in the new WPP, we're creating a mobility plan so that people can go have those experiences, and perhaps they'll go back to a creative brand because they're really in love with that, but they'll be better for it because they understand the full breadth of our company. And then at our most senior levels, Mark and I were just talking about creating learning and development opportunities for our most senior people to learn how to be even their best selves. So it's about having experiences with other leaders. We just had Angela Ahrens, who used to be at Apple and Burberry, come speak to our leadership team. And I think creating those experiences for our most senior leaders to have shared across is another way that we're building what I believe will be the destination for all the great people who want to come work at WPP.
Amazing. No, I love it. And I think it makes so much sense to think about the different the different ways that you can both bring great people in and also encourage them to continue building their skills and getting new experiences. So I love that. Well, with that, I think we're out of time. But Jacqui, thank you so much for coming in and coming to the Muse offices and chatting with us today. It's been such a pleasure having you, and I really appreciate it. And if someone has listened to this and they are really interested in learning more about your and your team's work at WPP, should they go to the website? What's the best place they can go to learn more?
For sure. Thank you for having me. This has been really fun. I feel like I could stay here all day. The best way to hear more about what we're doing is they can go to the website. I also am on Twitter, and I'd be happy to have. We talk a lot about what's going on in the company, what's going on with the team. Jacqui Canney is my handle there, and I would love to hear from your listeners too about their ideas for WPP.
Amazing. At JPCANNEY. Fantastic. Well, thank you again. And for all of you listening, check back next week for the next episode of The New Rules of Work. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Muse is the best place to research companies and careers. More than 75 million people each year trust the Muse to help them win at work, from finding a job to building the skills to help them grow and advance. Organizations use our platform to attract and hire talent by providing an authentic look at company culture, workplace, and values through the stories of their employees.
You've been listening to The New Rules of Work. To learn more about this episode and to research companies and jobs, visit themuse.com. To ensure you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you have any questions for The Muse or for host Kathryn Minshew, feel free to reach out to press@themuse.com. Thank you for listening. Until next time.